Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 180 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to start on a new intermediates bus and add batteries to it. Enjoy. And how many batteries? It seems like 6 per second, so we'll probably want to make more than that because batteries go into other things. I don't know how many 30 per second would be, but we can check it out here. Well, clearly a lot. Although that's not an excessive amount of lead plates. It kind of is a lot of plastic, though. What are we set up for with plastic here? 9. Nowhere close to that. Let's also check the sulfuric acid production. I imagine it's fine, because we probably can make a whole bunch of it. Yeah. 1,000 per second. Well, let's go with 30 per second for batteries. The logic being is that we're probably going to upgrade plastic production at some point. And what we have now is just making it from green algae, and in fact we're throwing some of it away. So we could stand to make more. We'll build this to grow into it later. So we'll need to chop up some lead plates for it. And that's basically all there is to it. It'll be a special bus somewhere. Need to get LTN deliveries of these 3 inputs, which are all on the LTN network. Sulfuric acid isn't on the LTN network, but we can upgrade. I believe one of these is sulfuric acid, yeah. So we'll just have to convert this one to LTN as well. And then let this liquid train handle that one. And then we'll probably use drones to deliver the batteries. It kind of depends. I mean, 30 per second is a significant amount of batteries, though. What do they go into? Because I'm trying to see if it would be worth putting on a train if they're only going to one location. They do go into laser rifle batteries, though. It's kind of tricky, but we probably should put it on a train. Because that's just a lot of batteries. Compared to this is what the whole thing looks like when it's at full speed, so only a couple brains pop out of it. Batteries, though, when you need a lot of them, you need a lot of them. And we need to decide somewhere to put it. And this bus might be kind of an interesting one because we don't really know how big we want to make it because it's just random intermediates. So in that sense, it might be worth it to make a one-sided bus only. So in other words, everything just goes one direction, let's say up, and then the necessary belts will extend downwards as required. And we don't want to compete with space here, where that's going to go this way. Yeah, we'll have to do something about this. But if we have robots, it actually wouldn't be the end of the world to move all of this. Or you can just pick the whole thing up and like plop it over here and just change the belts. So we'll have to see. Generally, we want to try to keep the buses straight. And we don't really want to be here because we want to leave room for expansion if required. So it should probably be like right here. So yeah, so I'm thinking we can kind of convert this to be 2-directional. So some of the trains can go this way. And the stations will be here. We'll have to measure everything out. But we have a general idea for where it goes now. First thing we need to do is switch this over to an LTN station. And let's switch this off. Sulfuric acid load. Provider. On lubricant. The settings are otherwise the same. We just need to get it wired up. So we'll turn it on and nothing should happen. So we need to convert this station to LTN. And since we have an LTN train doing this, we don't need this separate one. So we'll just pick it all up. We'll copy this other station over. Sulfuric acid crystal unload. Negative 200,000. And turn it on. And since we have exactly that, it should say nothing. It says -1. Well, good enough. Not much happening now, so not much to see. So I wanted to try to use this track to extend. As a result, we'll need to make these T's correct. Okay, that's been converted. So we're going to run it down here. But where exactly to turn up kind of depends on exactly where the bus starts. Since it doesn't have to be double-sided, we don't have to worry too much about where we put it. We already have a dynamic station set up here. So it's probably going to go somewhere up there. Probably like right here, and we'll try to avoid the coal. So we'll put it in there for now. Gonna have lots of trees to clear out. So there's a lot of swamp out here. We're really taming the wilderness right here. It's amazing how quickly it's building wood. Like, that is real fast. And then for this last part, we'll probably want to take a train. Oh, these trains are so hard to drive when they have rocket fuel in them. Okay, all connected. Besides this dynamic train station, for plastic and lead, we probably want to have a loading station as well, done similarly to this. So we got a great many trees to clear out. And it looks like we can get this in here right about there. There's still some trees in the way. Yep, we'll plop it in there. Then we can fix this up as required. Okay, we got most of these stations set up. And we can do this. Just use this existing pull-off. Ought to work just fine. And we probably want to try to get some fuel in here. It is being supplied elsewhere, but it's good practice to have it at multiple stations just to make sure the trains aren't lacking in fuel. Let's do request depot. And since we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, let's do a fluid depot too. Get those drones started. Requesting those rocket boosters. And it'll take forever, but one drone ought to be good enough for this task. Intermediates load 1. Just requesting lead. Limit trains of 8 is fine. And that stack threshold is fine. Additionally, we need plastic. -512 stacks. I'm not sure where the plastic is. I'm pretty sure it's on that phenolic board. Yeah. Let's call it intermediates load. We'll have to set all that as appropriate later. Sulfuric acid intermediates unload. On the liquid, sulfuric acid, -200,000. The these depots here that gotta get set up. It's probably gonna need a brand new network. We'll just turn it off for now. Call it Intermediates Depot. But yeah, we have a full connection here. Working all the way down there. And eventually, I guess we'll have a nice square going on. We're not that far away from that. Well, let's try the simpler thing. Let's see if we get our lead and our plastic, which should already be set up on various networks. And there it goes. It always takes a while, makes me wonder. But it's going now. Plastics are getting started. Lead's getting started. And we're going to have a big buffer to fill up here, so it's probably going to take a while. Honestly, these warehouses are a little too big. But that's because they're set up for the bigger trains, which we haven't quite started using yet. The size will make a lot more sense when the trains get bigger. But the resources should go in there. The other thing we need is the sulfuric acid. And this is something new. And there it goes. It's only got the one train for each of those right now, so that's why it's giving out warnings, but sulfuric acid's here. Quickly loads. And just like that, it gets here. And it's gone. Man, liquids are so much faster. Let's make sure it doesn't do any weird paths. It doesn't look like it. And plastic is done. Let's make sure plastic doesn't do anything weird. Coming in. Man, LTN's great. It does take a little while. Building the new train stations are not quite as simple, so you got more parts you got to do. But once you got infrastructure in place, all you have to do is look at your new station, change the request, and then the trains dynamically get there, which is super convenient. So it's definitely worth figuring out. And it's gone. Plastic is very fast because it's not very dense. And lead's almost ready here. It looks like it also took the fast way. There's the line of field trucks. Luckily they don't crash into trains, so no problem there. Oh, it looks like we did get a delivery of rocket fuel, though, which is nice. I'm sure the trains will appreciate. And lead's getting delivered. So that's looking pretty good. So it's time to build our little battery bus here. And one thing you can do if you don't like having this big logistics slot in the middle here, go into settings, interface, and we can do flat character GUI. And then that turns it into a tab. So if you prefer it this way, you can do it this way. And I do prefer it this way, just a little easier to look at. So we have lots of requests that are going to come down here. It's going to take a little while for them to get everything because they've got quite a large capacity here. But we need to start a bus somewhere. And we probably want to leave some room for additional train stations. I'm not sure exactly where, but let's just start it. Oh, how about right here? Let's going to be a smaller bus, so it's less important that this thing be completely optimized. Well, we need to wait for the bots to catch up, but it will be somewhere in here. So we've got our general setup, a couple of assembly machines, and then a whole bunch of chemical plants. And we can just build this setup here next to the old bus while we still have access to the resources here. It'll be going from down to up here. So let's see what we can do with this. Well, there's definitely a 1 to 10 ratio going on here. So we might want to see what we can do. Although, not sure how deep we want to make the machines. They will have liquids going in, so it will be something similar to this. So do we want them to be 10 deep? It would come down to here, and then we would need to have a whole bunch of rows. Or do it 20 deep. 20 deep makes a lot more sense. So let's do 2 machines. Then we need the 3 chemical plants making batteries. It'll probably take up less space to have the pipes on the side here. In fact, it'll take up extra less space if we could do something like this. See, this will probably be pretty dense. And the maximum we can do is like 3. Which would require 30 of these in a line. It might work. We'll have to see. I wonder if we can do extra long inserters. Nope, I keep thinking about it. And it's still locked behind other science. So we can't quite do it, but still, this should work. And probably like 2 stack inserters on the end. To get that maxed out. One advantage of using lots of productivity modules is each individual machine isn't particularly fast. So it doesn't need much to run. It does make the setup slightly bigger to put the poles in the end, but it'll probably look a little cleaner this way. So you would need to have 30 on each side and a line. I don't know if that would be too big or not. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, certainly 8. Feels too big. So it would be like this. Yeah, I mean, it technically kind of fits, but it just looks extremely large. But that said, if this is going to be a one-sided bus and everything needs to go up, then it kind of makes sense for things to be large like that. It might work. I don't know though, it just looks so silly. And we want to do this in such a way where it can be patterned. So probably doing it around these central belts would make the most sense. Yeah, something like this. Putting lead on one side, plastic comes in on the other, and then the output belt can come down with some distance changing inserters here. Something like this. I'm going to put this production block somewhere else. I don't know if it would get in the way of being up there. And this much is the pattern. And then something like this, but for the other side. We have to carefully flip it so it looks right. It's kind of difficult to tell when it's so zoomed out like this. There we go. And we can't flip them because they're chemical plants. See, some gaps in here might be nice just to be able to walk through here. So it would be something like this. And it could be tiled a few times. What we've actually got going is 6 machines here. So we should have 59. battery makers, and it looks like we have a few more than we need. So is that better? Yep. Now we'll produce half the batteries we need. It's just funny how long that is. But I mean, we've got the space for it, so why not, I guess? It could be any shape we want it to be. I imagine there's certain advantages and disadvantages for doing things in different ways, but that's looking pretty good. So we can give it a copy. And we wouldn't have to tile it very many times. But it could be tiled. We'd have to change a little bit about it. But it'd be pretty straightforward. Let's move the bots in closer. Clear out some more. And we'll probably need a bunch of space up here. That's as good a spot as any. But there's some shallow water in the way somewhere. Eventually gonna have to clear this out. Look at all those trees. Looks like we're going right over some oil, but what can you do? Probably gonna need a ton of productivity modules for this. 144. Well, we can go grab some. Oh, the robots are at work. Let's see, some numbers here are going to change. Like this belt right here needs to be red. Let's just space it down by 1 and call this where the outputs go. And we need a second one in here. You can share the output belt. Long, long, and long. We got to get our limited number of resources in here. And the output can go back up. We'll use the first lot here. And we do need to convert this. But it should actually work fine with these oddball resources that aren't being asked for. So we'll just convert this one for batteries. And set that to battery as well. And those are just the counts, so that one's fine. See if anything else needs to be set here. This is a dynamic station. Provide threshold of 40 stacks. Since we haven't converted our factory to 60 yet, it should probably just stick with that number for now. Lock slots to 1. We probably need a new network here. Let's just make it a picture of a battery. And that'll be the intermediates network. And turn it on, and nothing should happen since this is a provider, and there's nothing being provided at the moment. Okay, we need to get that acid in there as well. Lots of ways to do this, but we might be able to just go straight across here. Looks like it. Although we do need to connect all these lines together. Guess that we can do that up here. The flow rate is, for all of this, times 2. Decent. But it should be within the capability of a pipe to handle all of that. And is there a pump on the end? There is. It's not traveling very far, so hopefully it's okay. It's certainly readily filling up here. We'll have to see if this request works if we send a new train. But we're not quite there yet at resources, so I think it should be good to test. Let's throw the lead in first. Oh yeah, of course. Modules too. Can't forget those. Didn't want to put them in before just to save the bots the hassle of having to put them in. It's the kind of thing that bots are kind of slow with. Oh, you gotta make sure these ones are maxed out. Even distribution works to a point, but if these need more modules, you need to make sure they're filled up. But it seems good. Okay. Let's hook up the plastic and see if some magic happens. Let's open up this page one more time just to make sure we can review it. Make sure there's no belt limitations, because yeah, this one's yellow. Because it has to do 13.45. It looks like the first batteries are making it through. For some reason these things are placing their eye, because the offset's in the middle. Nears. Probably have to go through here and fix all these. See, this one on the other side seems like it's handling it better. Guess it was just because of the default side that it inserts on when it's in the middle. Lots of batteries going through. And starting to fill up the warehouse. Yummy, yummy batteries. The output of this should basically be a red belt, so we'll want to make sure that that is what we're getting out of this. It's getting close. Let's see, some of these aren't running at all. Why is this one not running? Ah. Because there is no pipe connection. Let's see, this one is off. It's probably for the same reason as the other one. Just this connection's a little wrong. So I think it's all green. So these ones are trying their best to max out the belt. It could be that it needs to be red. Yeah, because it needs to have 16. And we're definitely low on the belts. Well, let's go over to the bus and handcraft a few. We just probably need a bunch of steel gears and whatnot. Because we're getting tantalizingly close to having all these items being made on our new bus here. I hate to drive any more than I have to. Alright, we got another sulfuric acid request. It'll probably be there by the time I get back. But I want to make sure that it doesn't have any leftover resources. That it gets unloaded properly. Considering that the different tanks might unload differently. Yeah, there goes the train. So what do these tanks look like? They are a little different from each other, so let's see how this train unloads. Okay, it succeeded. Probably because the level's going down so fast. But nonetheless, there were no problems, which is good. Okay, let's see if we can clean this up a bit. Well, it seems like we're getting our full belt of output here. It's so many batteries. But we're gonna need them. Numbers going up. So we need 40 stacks, I think, for the minimum to appear on the network, or about 8,000, which we should have. And thus, batteries are now available. And with that, we should have everything we need here to start working on some bots. But that's going to have to wait till the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.